and she won't be denied. She's the queen of the night, ruling with her might. Oh, watch out, boys, 'cause she's a dangerous delight. She's a husband serial killer, yeah. She's got a taste, loves a fox and wolf, and never out of place. With a smile so sweet, she'll lure you in. But underneath, she's got a hunger deep within. She's the queen of the night, a lady of the hunt. With a heart so wild and a soul so blunt, she'll love you like no other, then she'll make you disappear. Oh, watch out, boys, 'cause she's the one to fear. Cherokees and the Skinner brothers too. She learned their ways and she's got nothing to lose. Ex-law with a vengeance burning bright. She'll take them down, she'll make it right. She'll make it right. A lady of the hunt, with a heart so wild and a soul so blunt. She'll love you like no other, then she'll make you disappear. Oh, watch out, boys, 'cause she's the one to fear. She's sweet as honey, but don't be fooled. She's tough as nails and she'll never be ruled. Her family's her strength, she'll defend them with her life. So don't you dare cross her, she'll cut you like a knife. She's the queen of the night, a lady of the hunt. With a heart so wild and a soul so blunt, she'll love you like no other, then she'll make you disappear. Oh, watch out, boys, 'cause she's the one to fear. So if you see her coming, better run and hide. She's a force of nature and she won't be denied. She's the queen of the night, ruling with her might. Oh, watch out, boys, 'cause she's a dangerous delight. She's a husband serial killer, yeah. She's got a taste, loves a fox and wolf, and never out of place. With a smile so sweet, she'll lure you in. But underneath, she's got a hunger deep within. She's the queen of the night, a lady of the hunt. With a heart so wild and a soul so blunt, she'll love you like no other, then she'll make you disappear. Oh, watch out, boys, 'cause she's the one to fear. Raised by Cherokees and the Skinner brothers too. She learned their ways and she's got nothing to lose. Ex-law with a vengeance burning bright. She'll take them down, she'll make it right. She'll make it right. A lady of the hunt, with a heart so wild and a soul so blunt. She'll love you like no other, then she'll make you disappear. Oh, watch out, boys, 'cause she's the one to fear. She's sweet as honey, but don't be fooled. She's tough as nails and she'll never be ruled. Her family's her strength, she'll defend them with her life. So don't you dare cross her, she'll cut you like a knife. She's the queen of the night, a lady of the hunt. With a heart so wild and a soul so blunt, she'll love you like no other, then she'll make you disappear. Oh, watch out, boys, 'cause she's the one to fear. So if you see her coming, better run and hide. She's a force of nature and she won't be denied. She's the queen of the night, ruling with her might. Oh, watch out, boys, 'cause she's a dangerous delight. She's a husband serial killer, yeah. She's got a taste, loves a fox and wolf, and never out of place. With a smile so sweet, she'll lure you in. But underneath, she's got a hunger deep within. She's the queen of the night, a lady of the hunt. With a heart so wild and a soul so blunt, she'll love you like no other, then she'll make you disappear. Oh, watch out, boys, 'cause she's the
No, Gravedigger. Ah, crap. Let's not have had troubles with this today. Come on, horse, I need you to run. What? This isn't a gallop. This is not a gallop. God damn it. Okay. Run, please, run, please, run, please, run, please. There we go. See, buddy? You just gotta trust me. Stop running. Stop running. There we go. That's all you had to do, bud. That was it. Let's see, do I have anything for my horse? Yes, I do. Let me go west. Go here.
was gonna, but then I forgot.
That sounds like a song or something. My food's getting
Hey,
low,
Widow.
getting low, get low, and my food's getting low.
Hi, Widow.
Hey, Widow.
Hold on,
Alright.
hello, hold on, I gotta, there we go. Forgot I had those on, I apologize.
I did the same thing. Come out of the bathtub. Scared some poor old guy half to death, but he was happy about it.
Oh. I see, he was standing at attention, I assume.
I guess so. When it ran through, he somehow managed to get out the door without ever touching it.
Interesting.
Yeah, but hey, welcome. I'm so glad you made it to the reading. I know you don't get to make too many of them.
No, it's not usual that I'm awake this early in the evening. Normally I'm around real late. But,
Awake? I thought you was like lurking in the shadows, figuring out how to rob a bank.
no. I've been lurking in the shadows trying to find out who sent me this really weird letter.
It wasn't me. I promise, not this time. Wait a minute. Which letter?
Oh, some strange letter signed by some person calling themselves the Butcher. Which
oh no,
was,
that wasn't me. I sent you the other letter. It says, "Make sure you shut your windows at night, because I can see right in your house."
Oh, right, that one. Well, yeah, of course you can see right in my house. I can see right in your shed.
No, you can't. The door's imaginary.
It's not like the house I'm in is right next to your shed. I can see right into your room, too.
Oh, that's fair. Ooh, we're getting really close to story time. Make sure everybody's got full bellies and such.
I like to keep mine empty. It keeps me on edge.
Well, if you pass out during the story, I'm not going back and reading it, filling in the blanks. Okay, I probably would.
That's fine.
Like the story of the three little
Decent
pigs.
crop today.
Oh yeah, very nice. Yeah, it's like the story of the three little pigs. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed at the station. And this little piggy cried, "Get me off the horse! They're kidnapping me!"
And that little piggy lost his shirt and socks and belt and shoes.
Exactly.
We can't forget about the piggy that had the name Sinard smacked across his back.
Which one? I
Yeah.
think that's actually happened on 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah. I think one of them even had my name stamped on them at one point. Didn't we do one for you too? Can't remember.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought so.
Well, it is story time. Hey everybody, hope everybody's having a good night tonight.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so we know one person's having good. Everybody else is already asleep. Great story. All right, that was it. See y'all next week.
It's a fantastic story. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. And today's story is a very long story. It has a beginning, a middle, and the end.
Oh wow.
Yep. Talking
Fancy.
about like
That's
that
the
one.
shortest story I've ever heard. The end.
All right. Let's see. I'm just looking through my book. How to make a law officer quit their job. Huh, I think I've been successful at that.
Wait, that's possible?
Yeah, absolutely possible. Here we go. All right, tonight's story is called Lots, and it is a white factor story, so enjoy. I think we were out at the national park area when we talked about getting one of them gypsy wagons. It seems like a dream when I talk about it now. We both love the outdoors. I think our tents and the camping stuff were the only things to our names at the time. The stuff that we could actually sell. If things went south. Lily had a few things at her parents' house, but well, they didn't get along too well. So even thinking of going to pick up her clothes, the ones she needed for this trip, actually required organizing with her sister, who still kept in touch. The decision she had made to move out and travel together, well, came pretty easily, and it also sounds like a dream to me. Work was slowing down at the time at the docks, and I was one of the first to be let go. I think the owner sold it shortly after that, his part that he had. You should never open a cafe in a town with that many saloons near the dock. I remember seeing that for rent sign along one of the dark streets while walking home from the park, a typical Thursday night for Lily and me. She was supposed to be sneaking back into her house through a window, and then I would walk through the alley to the train station to take the train back to the small town and hotel I stayed at. As we passed one of those houses, Lily stopped and looked at a sign on the lamp post. Room for rent. Responsible people only. Located at the edge of town. And that was followed by a named telegram. We laughed at the edge of town part. They made it sound like an outsider thing. An outsider thing picture of what we both wanted, or at least wanted our lives to include. But then again, everything we did was working towards that, now that I think about it. We like to dream and talk about how things would be different once we got our things in order. Maybe once Lily finally wrote a romance novel, or when someone bought one of my mystery books that I did. Hmm. I think that's what we get, as artists, or want to be artists, actually. We all somehow end up at the edge of town. But, but this felt different. It was like we were committing to chasing our dreams together. Uh, Even though lots of people chase dreams but never finish them. Seems I know a lot of people like that. Anyway, it was almost 10 at night, but Lily sent a telegram to the name on the sign, and she got a message back pretty fast that said it was available and to come check it out the next morning. The telegram also included the address. Lily was very excited about it, and that next morning we took a carriage as far as it would take us, and well, then we walked the rest of the 8 or so blocks. And that's when we saw it. The only house by the broken down factories. Uh, we stayed there for about 2 months before we decided to move, but it taught us a lot about sharing such a tiny place. Sharing it along with its strange noises at night that came with so many stories. Well, for Lily, they did. Can you imagine a werewolf coming out of one of those gates? She asked me that one night while looking out to where the abandoned factories were. You see, there was one gate that had been open ever since we got there, and nobody ever closed it. A werewolf pushing a stroller, maybe. I shot back. Then she pushed me, laughing at how I would always find a way to ruin her stories. You see, I wasn't one to get scared easily, but That was because I hadn't experienced many scary things back then. But my definition of scary is different than most, I guess. But now things are different. And I think that's where this story really starts. We were out camping one day looking at that traveling wagon that I mentioned that was not far from our camp. The couple that was driving it offered us a bag of bagels and fresh cream cheese to eat. I said, we have too much food, they said. Something odd, but I guess. They didn't want it to go bad, so we accepted, and without saying a word, we both thought about how wonderful it would be to be able to do what they do, live in a traveling wagon. Just thought about getting one to travel around. Actually made me wonder how we could ever make it sustainable. You see, there's food, there's money, maintenance. All of that stuff comes along with living like that out on the road. I quickly realized I wanted that. I needed that. And I had nothing to lose, really. It was that couple from somewhere in the middle of nowhere who told us about how they make it work. They get jobs during the winter months and they save it all and then they travel for the rest of the year. And those jobs would be regular ones too, things like wagon and box deliveries and warehouse or dock workers, just whatever job they could pick up in whatever town they were in. There's places where you're replaceable is where you'll find jobs, the lady had said. I remember thinking that, in fact, we're all replaceable. But I didn't know it could be a good thing and working in our favor. I could tell that a plan was forming in Lily's mind, and, I was happy about it. It was like a light at the end of the tunnel for me. We wanted to travel, but we had nothing but our camp, no solid plan, and very little money. So with not much on our minds or much in our pockets, we started looking. Our hikes in the forest turned into walks around town, looking at lots and following used carriages and wagon listings. Not even a month after that, we found our own, an old traveling wagon that needed a new set of reins and a new water barrel, but, everything else was fine. I checked it myself, and, I'm handy with that kind of thing, so when I saw it available, as is, for only $300, but to me it was basically free. I was right too. That was the only issues with it. We didn't even have to get new wagon wheels. So we cleaned it up and added the things from our camp to it. Now we could cook as though we were camping with a tiny wooden stove, and so we drove around from place to place, camping out as we called it, wherever we were. Me working on my mysteries and her working on her novels. In the cities and parks and anywhere where they wouldn't kick us out, we stayed. From right away, it was like we had a traveling studio or traveling office, except, without actually having one. Lily got to work on her books, and I would step out with my old camera and notebook, and sometimes not sure what I was doing and what I was working on. Perhaps thinking back, perhaps going back to Georgia, or maybe a course to become a secretary would be better than this, but I also didn't want to give up the chance of having an amazing adventure and, something to talk about and write about later. And I tell you, I certainly had some stories. This one took place around 2 in the morning. I was behind the reins that night. You see, we were in the valley area between two hills of twin stacks along the main route that takes you westbound, where you cross several small camps. There wasn't a cloud in the sky that night, and the full moon illuminated the road in the valley. It was then that suddenly Lily, who I thought was asleep beside me, turned to the front and pointed at the road ahead. "Look," she said, sounding worried and frightened at the same time. It took my eyes a bit to adjust to what she was seeing, and there was no doubt in either of our minds that we weren't imagining it. Up ahead, off in the distance, it was a light, dimmer than a wagon lantern, but stronger than a candle flame, to the right side of the road, where the carriages and horses don't drive. Well, it was supposed to be all grass. I immediately thought it was the glass of a lantern from a broken down carriage out in the middle of nowhere, right? But as we got closer, it seemed to be moving, bouncing around the area with a strange bluish white color. We were still far enough away that it was only just a dot, but I could tell that Lily was nervous about it. Her imagination would get away from her sometimes, you know. I slowed down as we approached it, and slowed down more and realized that, well, it was a person, unbothered by the sound of our horses and wagon or by the light of our lanterns, they were walking in the same direction we were going. They didn't turn around or even acknowledge our presence. They simply kept walking. Lily relaxed a bit and started to lean over the side of the seat, but I told her to stop, that we didn't know that person and that we should be careful. Still, though, I kept the wagon going and we got closer. They must have gotten nervous once we approached them, because I barely slowed down to ask them anything. I pulled up a little further as Lily shot me a glance for not stopping in time for her to ask them if they needed help. See, Lily was that type of person, even to a fault, trusting everyone and not accepting that the world could possibly have evil people who wanted to do us harm for no reason. Still, I knew what I had to do, so we waited for the guy to catch up to the wagon, but we lost sight of him. As I said, the moon was not out that night, so the entire area, or the moon was out that night, so the entire area was illuminated. It vaguely reminded me of a story I had read once for some reason. With it kind of has the desert scenes and the bright skies. It was probably because I spent almost every hour of the day with Lily that my mind started connecting odd stories to what was happening. I turned to Lily and asked what she wanted to do, and she said we would ask him if he needed help, and that was it. Maybe his horse got injured, or he was doing some type of odd, in the middle of the night meditation that required him to be out in the middle of the night. She didn't want to bother him either, just wanted to make sure. Come to thinking of it, I hope it's not one of them Chelonians. I told her that maybe he was out burying a body, and she chuckled at it, before lifting her hand to push my shoulder away from her. It was her thing, pushing me away when she was pretending to be angry. So, when the wagon stopped, we waited, and as a strange silence seemed to loom over us. I was expecting to hear the sound of boots against grass or dirt coming up behind us, but instead, just nothing. The patterned sounds of insects battling in the distance was all we could hear. We both scrambled to look over the top and sides of the wagon to try and find the person, but everywhere we looked, all we could see was grass fields and dirt for miles and miles against that moonlight. Lily wanted to get off the wagon and look, so before she could, I snapped the reins and told her that I would turn around and take a closer look. I told her maybe they started going the other way, and it could be possible that they started walking out into the middle of a dark field in the middle of the night for no reason. She didn't laugh. So I turned the wagon around so that the lanterns shined back down the road again, and we were the only lights, well, other than the moon in the entire valley. We didn't say anything to each other at that moment. I think we both needed the wagon to be moving and us to be on our way in order to talk about it. What did we just see? I asked. We just saw a ghost, a real ghost, Lily said to me once we were on our way. I decided to follow along this time, and we talked for a good while about it. That was until ahead in the distance, we saw something strange. It was the same bluish light once again, and at seeing it, my face went cold. It was slowing down as we were approaching it once again, when I realized that the light we had been seeing was the reflection of this man's clothes. I drove by slowly this time, and both of us in silence, wondering how this person could have possibly been ahead of us. Take a look at him. Since he's on your side, just don't lean over the side, I told Lily. I had to remind her of these kinds of things. As we passed by this person, a man, it appeared to be from the looks of it, who didn't seem to notice us at all. Lily turned her head to look over the side of the seat to get a closer look, and in doing so she slid to the edge of the seat and turned her body to try and see better. I kept a close eye on her as we passed by the man on the side of the road and waited for her to tell me something. The only thing she said was, "Drive, drive, drive," she said in that scared tone of voice. And so without questioning her, I snapped the reins quickly and off the horse's fed. I asked her what or why she said that. What had she seen? In shock, she was trying to catch her breath and started crying uncontrollably, and in between those quick breaths, I could tell that the words she was trying to get out. I honestly never thought I'd believe something so bizarre coming from Lily, but her words, those words, will never leave me. "He has no face," she said. What could she have meant by saying that he had no face other than he had no face? Had it been too dark, or had her imagination gotten the most of her finally and convinced her that a face was not where it should have been? I tried to get her to talk during the ride, and she managed to tell me a few things through the shock. At first, with his head exposed, we could see the back of it and the dark hair. I'd seen that part too. But through the illuminated road and the lantern lights on the side of the wagon, she said she had seen a hollow void where his face should have been. I wasn't expecting it, she said. From the look on her face and the way she said it, I knew she hadn't made it up. There were some stories that she'd read at one point, around about the time when we met. She used to tell me about them all the time. You see, she was very into ghost stories, and we would talk about these things sometimes before going to sleep. She'd tell me about sightings of things called doppelgangers and how her family was broken because of something having to do with the supernatural. She said their energies were off and it made her parents fight too much, or, well, that's something like that. It was unusual for her to talk about her family at all, so, well, it caught me by surprise when she did a few times. It was actually very tough to get her to think about of other things when she got obsessed like this. I guess it was in her blood or her mind or something. It was like her hobbies, I guess, and the million little startups that she had tried before meeting me. Let's see, she tried to be a printer's assistant, a tailor, and, well, her current thing with the writing, which quite honestly fit her the best. Writing and telling stories was her thing. Now, if she could only write fast enough to keep up with her own imagination. I. Okay, I felt guilty that I was thinking already about how much she would go on and on about this encounter. It scared me even more than the thing we saw on the side of the road. So I guess it makes sense, since I wasn't the only one who saw it. Although having it to show up 2 times a large distance away while he was on foot, that's that's impossible, right? My explanations were that there had been 2 different people, just someone else walking along the side of the road at the same time, in the middle of the night, going the same direction, dressed exactly the same. Anyway, all of this is what I told Lily. What about the strange glow? She asked. What about the way he was limping? Did you notice that? No. What about the way he ignored us as we pulled up in a loud wagon with horses? I don't know. All of these questions she asked over and over, and she came up with her own theory, actually. Anyway, eventually we made it back to town, and she telegrammed some of her friends, the weird ones. She knew that were very into this kind of stuff. A little too much, if you ask me, actually. Those were the kind of friends that reminded me a little too much of Mother. Anyway, they told her of issues with finding out who the man was, suggesting it may have been a hallucination. It had been late at night, and our brains was as strange ways of interpreting things when we're tired. Of course, she refused that explanation completely, saying that we had both had seen it and said it separately. She had been fully awake, and even more so with the adrenaline rush after seeing that first person, and, well, I kind of had to agree with her. I felt that same feeling too, and she's right, it wakes you up. But there was one theory that she couldn't get rid of, and unfortunately, that's the theory that finally took her. See, faceless people went from philosophical or dream interpretation all the way up to omens, a sign that the end of her life was near. I don't know why I felt so disappointed about this. It was maybe because being around someone so passionate about something, anything, and then clinging myself to it to finally feel something too. And then watching her kill it, that passion she once had, being left to rot in the wagon with her as her writing slowly turned to sketchings of figures. She wouldn't talk to me or anyone about them like she used to. But I would see them and wonder what the meaning behind her obsession with dark figures on parallel lines was. Looking back now, I know that she was looking to connect meaning to something that had none. It was only a man on the side of the road. That was it, I kept telling her. And telling myself. Oh, one day she asked for help to go to the doctor, something she had avoided for a couple of weeks because she said we didn't have the money for it. So, that's the excuse that she used. There was always enough money, she just didn't want to go. We made an appointment near her hometown to check on the sudden pressure on her chest and other things she was feeling. Unfortunately, that appointment turned into another one, and into another one, and turned into one for surgery. The next time I had to go was to make arrangements for her funeral. Her family showed up for the service, and her mother was the one that cried. Regret, probably. I'm so sorry, I shouldn't think things like that. But I had been the one who saw her die that way, and slowly, after her mind got away from her, she got to rest after how unfairly life treated her for all of this time. I wonder if she thought of me before she passed. just like I replayed every single minute I'd ever spent with her. Anyway, she was buried on a Friday morning, and I spent all night at the cemetery by myself. The place had no closing hours, so for a person who had a traveling wagon parked in the lot, the caretakers would soon think I was there trying to camp out. So, so sometime around 1 in the morning, I climbed into the seat, slowly picked up the reins, and turned my head to look at the empty seat beside me. And with a sudden rush of anger or hopelessness or despair, I'm not sure what it was that filled my head and filled my heart, I yelled, and, honestly, I just don't remember what. I just yelled. I wanted to head back to that road in the valley, to the place that had started the path of me losing my Lily. And for 2 hours, I drove straight there, lost in thought on that dark road. I guess you'd call it a symbol of my life. Well, until the sunrise. And I was angry. Of course I was angry, yeah, but at what? At that thing we saw on the side of the road? At the way I didn't stop to question Lily and her imagination? Sometimes a person on the side of the road is just that, a person on the side of the road. I thought of how much I had fallen for Lily and the sense of responsibility I felt for her. I was willing to defend her against the cruel way life treated her. She was just one of those kind hearts that is just too naive in front of the monsters that surround us. How when I told her that I loved her for the first time, she stayed quiet for a bit. Until I asked her if she loved me back. Lots. So much. I remember the way we drove around looking for clear fields near towns to park and sleep in. Those spots where the home of those who had nowhere to go or were looking for an adventure. Pretty sure me and her never decided which category we fell into. We were just happy. It was one of those times when we got our simple dinners together where we counted the bills that we had left and when we decided if that week we would rent a room at a hotel or not. I mean, for me, showers at the river were fine. Cold, but fine. It was that old bed that we had in the wagon that was getting to us. We didn't have to share our attention with the road in those hotels and fields, and we both looked forward to them every time. Now that I think of it, there was a ghost we saw in one of those places. This was before the thing on the side of the road. It was near that old Civil War battlefield near Boulder's Glade. It wasn't a big deal, but Lily wrote up a story about it. You see, someone knocked the back door one night, and you could see their silhouette from inside the wagon. It wasn't too common to get knocks on the doors from anyone at that time of night back then. When they wanted us to move, Lily thought it was to make sure we were still alive. Anyway, when we opened up the door and looked around, there was nobody there. Nowhere for someone to hide where we was at. It was just a knock. I wanted to go to that place just one last time. It was right on the edge of town and immediately after the valley where we saw that thing on the road. But at that moment, my mind wasn't fully there, you see. I just made up my mind to ride through the very place that started all of this. Anyway, as I drove in that straight line, seeing maybe 2 or 3 wagons driving in the opposite direction, I made sure to keep an eye out on the side of the road for any glowing objects or anything resembling that thing we had seen. It was a little past 2 in the morning when I saw something. It flashed along with the thoughts of that other night. The way Lily had been sleeping, or at least how I thought she was when she was the one that saw the light. In my head, I could see her sitting next to me, leaning forward and pointing pointing at it, turning and asking me to slow down. There was no doubt in my mind that there was something there. I could see it even better than last time. It was indeed blue, flickering between bright blue and white. It was hard to miss even if you wanted to. You know, I've seen campfires on the side of the road and I'd seen hikers along dirt paths in the dark and with lanterns, and I was absolutely sure this was neither of those. I was getting closer to it and faster than I wanted to, so I pulled the reins gently to slow the horses down to a walking speed. I did this as I slid over to the passenger side of the seat. But the light had turned into a shape, slowly bobbing up and down along the side of the road. It was slightly different than the last time, the way I remember it. It seemed a bit smaller. I thought of snapping the reins on the horses and then at speed running the thing over to say goodbye to it once and for all, but there was something different this time. The thoughts of helping the person there overtook me. Actually, that was unusual for me, to be honest. I pulled right up to it until the nose of my horses almost touched it, and the light from my wagon lanterns illuminated their entire back. It was a slim figure, a person with their hands in their pockets, completely ignoring me. I mean, how do you ignore someone driving a wagon right up behind you? I yelled lightly, 2 times, but my yells went unnoticed. I looked behind the wagon to make sure no other wagons or horses were behind me, and the road was pitch black. I looked ahead once again and deciding to pull up next to this person that was steadily ignoring me on the side of the road. I mean, I was so close that I thought I could push them lightly on the left arm with my front edge of the wagon. The person just kept walking. The more I think about it over the years, though, and the times I've told this story, I'm still 100% sure that I saw a person there. See, ghosts are supposed to be see-through or scary, right? Well, not this one. Anyway, my heart was beating as I pulled up a little more, and from the side I could tell that this was a woman, a woman walking on the side of the road with her hands in her pockets by herself at night. I was sure. I was so sure that this was real. It was until her head started turning slowly toward the passenger side of the wagon. It was her face. I will never forget that face. It was Lily. I swear all I could hear right then and there were her words from the night we had seen the other figure before. Drive, 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 she had said. I snapped the reins hard and the horses lunged to a gallop as I swerved to get back on the road. I looked back and I could see that the figure was starting to fade into the dark when I changed my mind. I slowed down and pulled over, and there was no reason to run. Lily was the one who reacted that way on impulse, not me. It was like I was trying to become her. I looked to her for all these types of things, when my life would become the same stuff every single day. So I waited there for more than 15 minutes. I was too nervous to look back, but I was hopeful to see her one more time. I realized then just how lost I would be without her. She had lived the life of a lost artist, convincing herself of things that weren't there because she couldn't see them. She looked everywhere for them, in everything she encountered, in everything we talked about, but couldn't piece it together. Hers was a life that seemed to be functioning properly, without a name, without a face. We can only see what we're looking for if we're lucky enough to know what that is. I waited on that dark road, confusing the lanterns of passing carriages and wagons for the signs of life I wanted until they started passing by without them. Now, though, to my right was the soft blue of another light that would soon turn to orange, and then to yellow, rising from the horizon to the sky. I felt lost now that I was alone. I don't want to be alone, I remember saying. It was then I first heard that voice, a voice that I knew all too well. We are never alone, it said.
Yes! Woo! Oh yeah, oh yeah!
And that is life.
If you want gift reactions like these, shop items that will make everyone on your list feel heard. For original gifts that say,
I hope
get
everybody
you,
enjoyed
and
that
see it has
story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
There is a goddess in all of us, strong as a lioness.
Alright, well, fortunately that is the only story I'm going to read tonight because my throat is bothering me a little bit.
Burberry goddess.
Oh,
I had,
okay.
yeah, I had to ride all the way from St. Denis while it was raining earlier, and I think it's getting to me.
Yes! Woo! Oh yeah, oh yeah!
If you want gift reactions like these, shop items that will make everyone on your list feel heard. For
Oh,
original
thank
gifts
you,
that say,
Julie.
I get
You
you,
as well.
Etsy has it.
Your bill,
Yep,
ladies.
see you
I
next
got
week.
it. No, you don't.
Bye, Julie.
Yes, I did.
People with the Wells Fargo Active
that?
Cash
See you
credit
next
card
week,
prefer
Lord
to pay
willing, and
because
the
they earn
creek don't
unlimited
rise.
2% cash back on purchases. Visit
Never understood that, 'cause why wouldn't you just swim across
wellsfargo.com/activecash.
the
Terms
creek?
apply.
I don't know. What's the question?
But I hope everybody enjoyed that. And yes, Tuesday night is Gothic Horror Night, same time. Edgar Allan Poe, Charles Dickens, all those good stuff. All right, everybody be careful finding a place before storm. Don't want anybody to get blown away to Tor Hurricanado. Tornado, hurricane, monsoon, typhoon.
You're gonna be around at the storm?
No, not tonight, unfortunately. I have to go
Aw.
take care of the children at the orphanage in St. Denis.
Okay.
Hopefully I've trained them how to pickpocket correctly. Alright, you have a good night, Rat.
Yeah, you too.
Bye, Widow.
Every time you feed your pet Hills, you help feed a shelter pet, which helps make them healthy, happy, and more adoptable, changing their life forever so they can change yours. Science did that.
Have you been feeling sad most of the time, losing interest in things you once cared about? You may be experiencing these and other symptoms that are difficult to understand. These symptoms are worth exploring with a doctor. Learn more about major depressive disorder and a potential treatment option at managingdepression.us.